Hello, this is Mr. Kissinger, and I'm going to be doing a video right now on ratio tables. And before I get started, I just want a quick note for parents that might be watching this video. As you're watching this, this whole idea of ratio tables and this skill and this tool that we teach in class is a really useful skill for students to help build their numeracy skills and help build the idea of ratios and proportions. Now, I know a lot of you probably have some shortcuts and some faster ways of solving these problems. I'm going to ask that you do your best to not provide those right now for students. Those are going to be something they're going to develop over time. So they're going to be seeing some of those shortcuts and creating those for themselves. This here, however, is a tool that we use in class and something that, like I said, just helps build that numeracy. So students, here's a good quick review on ratio tables. I found this page online, and let's just work through it. At the Cocoa Bean Factory, 2 pounds of the world-famous chocolate fudge sells for $1. Use the ratio table to find the cost of different amounts of fudge. So if 2 pounds is $1, I know that 1 pound is going to be 50 cents. And I put 2 decimal places for money. That's very important, because we are talking about money there. And so all I did was divide by 2. 2 divided by 1 is 2, or 2 divided by 1 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 divided by 2 is 50 cents. Sorry about that, guys. A really cool thing that you can do with ratio tables as well is I know that 1 plus 2 is 3. 50 cents plus $1, is going to give me $1.50. I could have also done times 3. That would have also worked. So there's many different ways to make this work. 2 times 2 is 4, so I can just double this. So 1 times 2 is going to be $2. $2 for 4 pounds of fudge. Just some cheap fudge here. So for $3, well, what would be $3? Well, I'm looking at this and I see I have a 2 here and a 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So 2 plus 4 would give me 6 pounds. But I also could see that 1 times 3 gives me 3, and 2 times 3 gives me 6. 2 plus 3 is 5, so 4 plus 6, well, that's going to be 10 pounds of fudge. Now, for 11 pounds, I'm going to look back here. I see I have a 10 here, I have a 1 here, and 1 plus 10 is 11, so 50 cents plus $5. It's going to cost $5.50 for fudge. Well, and you also know throughout this whole thing that the top number is double the bottom one. Let's go to the next problem. Stacy decided to make a stronger fruit punch by adding 5 cans of water for every 2 cans of concentrate. Find the missing amounts for larger batches of punch. So I know for every 2 concentrate I have 5 water. Well, I don't have to go to 1. I mean, I can to start with, but you could also go to 4 if that makes things easier. And you can skip around all through this. So 2, 4, well, I'm going to double that. So this is going to be 10 cans of water. Well, you know what? In fact, I'm going to show you that we can skip around on this just to help us go back and forth and solve it any way we want in this. I see a 10 here and a 20 there. Well, 10 times 2 gives me 20, so 4 times 2 gives me 8. I have 4 and 8. I know I can add those up and get 12. Well, 10 plus 20, add those up, I'll get 30. There's other ways you could have done it. You could have done 2 times 6, and 5 times 6 would have been 30. Another way you could do it. There's many different answers for this, many different ways of figuring out. Well, if I know 2 gives 2 gallons of concentrate for 5 water, well, 1 is going to just be half of that. That's going to be 2.5. 2.5. Well, for 5, I'm looking at, I see 1 and 4. I can add that and get 5. So that means I'm going to add the 2.5 and the 10, and it's going to be 12.5. So again, you can skip around this whole thing just to find numbers that work or any kind of pattern. You can add, subtract, multiply, divide. A really cool, useful tool that way. Let's go to 3. New hybrid gas-electric car can drive a little 50 miles on 1 gallon of gasoline. Complete the table. So here we have 50 miles on 1 gallon of gas. Well, 25. Let's do that one real quick. 25 would be, well, 50 is twice 25, so this it has to be half of whatever that is. That's going to be 0.5 gallons, or 1/2. Now, I'm going to go from here, I'm going to take this 50 and I'm going to go to 10 real quick. And when I go to that 10, I'm going to have to divide by 5. And if it helps you, you can make these little comments here so you can show what you're doing. So I'm going to do 1 divided by 5, and that gives me 0.2. So for every 0.2 gallons, I have 10 miles. To show that, we could just 5 goes into 1.0, 0.2. Just a quick way to show that. So here, I'm looking at 1.5. I'm looking at these numbers. I see a 1 and a 0.5. Well, if I add those up, I get 1.5. So let's add these two up. For my top number, it's going to be 75 miles on 1.5 gallons of gas. I know that 150 is twice 75, so I'm going to use that to help me. So I'm going to double this to get double 75 to get there. So I'm going to double this one, and that's going to be 3 gallons of gas. 3 gallons of gas. Now 110 looks a little goofy to me right now, so you know what? I see a 10 over there, and that's helpful. You know what would be really nice is if I had 100. So I'm going to add 100 over here. Yeah, I'm going to add 100. And when I add 100, I'm going to have 110. So, well, first, let's fill out that 100. Now 100, 50 is 1, so 100 is going to be 2. Now if 100 and I have 10, I can add those up. So 2, I'm going to add that. I'm going to have 2.2. Again, you can use this. You can add, multiply. So many different ways to solve this. There's not just one way of doing it. There's so many different ways. For that 5.5 there, I'm looking here and I'm not seeing anything that was looking really nice and easy to use. So, but what I do see here is I have a 0.5. So if I use that 0.5, if I make 5 gallons of gasoline, multiply that by 10, I can multiply this by 10 up here. So 250 miles on 5 gallons. Now that made things nice because now I have 5 and 0.5. So then I can add 250 and 25 to give me for 5.5. That's 275 miles. So we filled out our table. Let's see if we can look at our claims or our questions. Looks like ILDE claims that you can travel more than 1,000 miles on 1 tank of gasoline. Suppose the gas tank holds 13 gallons. Is she correct? And how do we know? Well, easiest way for me is I see this 100 right here. And so if I put 1,000 on top, I just added a 0 there. So I'm going to add a 0 here. And it's really nice when you multiply by tens that way. So now I see I need 20 gallons of gas. So is she correct? The answer is no. She needs 7 more gallons of gasoline. She will run out of gas if that's where she wants to go. So how many gallons of gasoline would it take to drive across the U.S. if the distance is 3,000 miles? Well, I know 1,000 is 20, so I'm going to multiply that by 3, be 3,000, and then 20 by 3 would give me 60, so she would need 60 gallons of gas. Alright, it looks like our last problem here. Tony is traveling to England and needs to exchange some of his US dollars for British money, which is called pounds. Suppose he will receive about 1 British pound for every $1.50 in US dollars. Complete the table to help Tony determine the conversions between these two currencies. So, first we see $1.50 in US and 1 pound here. So, if I, right here, this is going to make life really easy for me. 1 times 100 gives me 100. So I'm going to multiply this times 100. And again, you can put little notes if you want. That's going to be 150. 150 there. So, also looking at this, I know that 1/3, 0.5 times 3 is 1.5. I'm sorry, let me scoot this up for you guys. My apologies. And that makes life a little easier. 0.5 times 3 gives me 1.50. So that's times 3. Well, I have to think what times 3 gives me 1. What times 3 gives me 1? And the answer is going to be 1/3. or in this case, let's keep it in money, 0.333, and it'll just keep repeating, but when it comes to money, we're just going to say 0.33. Now that we have this, I have this 0.50, I think I could get that 5 real easy. So I'm just going to multiply by 10. So I'm going to do the same thing here. It's going to give me 3.30 when I multiply that times 10. Now in reality, if they actually continue this in decimal 0.333 continuing, this might be 3.33 there. So I can see a little variation on that. But right now I'm just going to use that 0.33. It might actually be a little bit closer to say 3.33. They're so close though. Now 5 times 10, 5 times what will give me 10? The answer is 2. So I'm going to multiply this times 2. So it's going to be 6.60. And now that you have 10, let's see what we need to get to 250. Now I'm going to argue if I added 100 over here, it's going to make my life a lot easier. So, because I see 150 here, and I need 100 more to make this. So 10 times what gives me 100, and that's 10. So this is going to be 66 pounds there. So I have 66 pounds for $100 US, and I have 100 pounds for $150. When I add these two up, I get 250. When I add these two up, the answer is going to be 166 British pounds. So how, my guess is I wanted to say, how many British pounds will he receive at the bank if he exchanges $600 in US, 600 in US dollars? So we have a 100 there. So let's just multiply that out. So I know 166, and I'm going to make a quick little ratio table here to help me out. 200 would then be 132. I'm just doubling it. That's all I did there. And then you could do times 3, or in this case you could have done times 6, but I'll just show you. There's so many different ways of solving this. So in this one here, I'm just going to add these up. 366 plus 132. That's going to be 198. And now I'm going to double it times 2. And it's going to be 600 US dollars. And it's going to be 396, I believe. Let me double check that. 6191, yeah, 396. So he'll get 396 British pounds is our answer. 396 British pounds. Guys, I hope this was a useful review of ratio tables. Again, there's many different ways that we can use it. Please ask in class if you have any questions. Thank you so much.